in practice, you say you are given this form: x squared minus 10x minus 11 is equals to naught. At first glance, you can see that you can solve this by factorizing. However, we are asked to solve this by completing a square. We are therefore going to start off by using, let me choose the pen color. Let me go for the black, and let me make it very thin. So now, firstly, step 1, you rewrite the equation as is. So your x squared minus 10x, it's already in a form that you want, right? So there won't be any changing or dividing through by the coefficient. So firstly, the first step you would want to do is to transpose the constant. This is the constant here. You transpose it to the right hand side. You will therefore on the left hand side have your x squared minus 10x is equals to 11. Once you have this written down, you can then see that the coefficient of x squared is 1, so it meets the requirement. The coefficient of the x, this one in particular, has to be divided by 2, right? So your negative 10, let's go negative 10 divided by 2, that should be negative 5, right? So if you get negative 5, it means that you are going to add negative 5 squared to both sides, the left and the right hand side. So let's do that very quickly. Bless me. Now your x squared minus 10x minus 5 squared, this is the requirement, is equals to 11 minus 5 squared. So once you're at this point, you do know that it's easier because you need to ensure that this square becomes a single figure, and negative times negative is always positive. So x squared minus 10x is equals, is plus 25 rather, plus 25 is equals to, this 25 plus 11 is going to give you 36. Remember, negative times negative is positive, so 25 plus 11 is 36. 36. When you're at this point, you can then rewrite this form in the form of x. Let me rather put it in brackets, right, so you can see the step. Squared, so x here and 5 here, because the negative sign is 10 in the middle, we are going to put the negative sign there. So that is equals to that, and then we are still going to have our 36. And now we can square root both sides. So if you square both sides, you should get 6 on this side, and clearly you will get x negative 5 on this side. So your solution, because this will be a plus and minus, has to be, you have to have 2 solutions in this case. So here you will have your x minus 5 plus 6, close the bracket, or minus 5 minus 6, close the bracket. Your final solution, the product of x will be x is equals to 1. So if you were to transpose the positive, it would be negative 1, right? And here you will get your x equals to 11. That's your final solution for completing a square. Now let's prove this using quadratic equation. X is equals to b, negative b, plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac, all this over 2a. Once we are at this point, we can then substitute, because we know this is a and this is b. Let me just write them. So a, b, c, right? So for b, we have negative 10. Negative 10 is equals to 100, right? Are we together? So negative, okay, let me just put it as negative 10, or rather positive. Let me put it as negative 10 inside the bracket, which will give us a positive sign. And then we have your plus minus. And from this point, you can then have your b squared, which is the same as what? 10 times 10 is 100. So I'll write it as 100 instead of wasting time. For your a will be 1 and your c will be negative 11. Therefore, the solution here should be positive, right? So it's gonna be positive. So let's say you have your 4 times 11. It's gonna give us something like 44, right? So let's go minus plus 44. So plus 44. It's looking good so far. All over 2a. The a is positive, so all over 2. And now that you've done this step, it's time to simplify further. You clearly would have a 10 here, and your plus minus. Inside the bracket or inside the square root, you should have 144, which can actually be simplified into 12, right? So let's have our 144, because we still have the plus and minus sign. So now that you're at this point, all over 2. It's getting hot now. So the square root of 144 is 12. So on the right hand side, I can have my 10 plus 12 divided by 2 on the left hand side, or I can have 10 minus 12 divided by 2. It works out nicely, as you can see. If you add the 2 together, you get 22. 22 divided by 2 is 11. Positive. And then let's say negative 12 is the bigger number. If you deduct 10, you remain with negative 2. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. So another solution of ours, or negative 1 equals to negative 1. So this is x equals to 1 and x equals to 11. That is a very beautiful illustration of how you use what? Completing a square, as well as what? Using the quadratic equation.